indeed, let's look at what some of the dailies are saying. We're starting out with the Guardian newspaper and see that headline. Unlicensed digital lenders. That's the lead. Loan sharks target poor citizens, exploit, violate privacy rights. That's what they're leading with on the front page of the Guardian. Again, we're talking about security, remember, Mark. We're talking about security, and this time it's about the security and data of the citizens. Unlicensed digital lenders, loan sharks, target poor citizens, exploit, violate privacy rights. That story, you get more details of it on page 6. But how would this even begin to happen when we have enough banks? Or maybe the banks are not loaning out or giving out loans as much as they should. But go to the Guardian and get the details, more of it on page 6. They have it all broken down there. You see the graphic representation. 2015, 215 lenders registered, 47 delisted, over 71 apps operating illegally. Loan apps deploy compound interest rates. Firms exploit, abuse users' data. I'll tell you what, a story of someone when we get there. Let's just run through the other. That's it from the Guardian.
Well, Vanguard has something a little different, and they are focusing on the Delta killings, which we have told you is a developing story. Delta killings, 3 suspects nabbed, moved to Army headquarters in Asaba. As a lead story on the front page of the Vanguard newspapers. Senate probes killing, call for recruitment of more policemen. Owurewori briefs Tinubu, says there would be further attacks, no situation under control. Clark condemns killings, urge military to exercise restraint. Investigate Delta killings, reps task military. Flags flown at half-mast as military begins 3-day mourning for slain soldiers. All of that is right there on the front page. Rulak appeals against revenge, indiscriminate actions on innocent civilians. And you see there, military moves swamp buggies to Okwama. They certainly are not letting up easily. Page 5 is where you get details of all of that. Let's leave it there for the Vanguard newspapers.
It's the same story that the Nigerian Observer is tracking this morning. Senate to investigate killing of military personnel in Delta. That's the lead story of the Nigerian Observer newspaper this morning. Says killing highlights serious threat to national security as Owurewori meets Tinubu behind closed doors. Details on the front page, continues on page 2 of the Nigerian Observer this morning.
Oh, well, the New Telegraph is another one, and they are leading with that story as well. It has to do with the 16 military or 17 military officers that were killed. Okwama, 17 officers, soldiers, killers, maybe mercenaries, says Akpabio. That's coming from the Senate president. Senate probes killing, rejects minute silence for civilian casualties for now. Tinubu Oboweri hold closed-door meeting. Killing and assault on security, stability of the Niger Delta, Lowan. Check for details on page 3 and page 5 and from the New Telegraph. That's it there.
Well, Daily Trust has this lead story. Kano, Katsina, Sokoto, 4 others spend 28.3 billion naira on Ramadan feeding. Cleric calls for accountability. Well, they have a breakdown of Ramadan feeding spending in 7 states for you for Daily Trust newspapers. Well, just to let our viewers on the DSTV platform know that we'll be going live to Elele in River State for the 25th anniversary of the Madonna University, which will be brought to you live on the DSTV platform. But just to also let our other viewers know that Sunrise Daily will continue on all our other platforms, including our online platform. So do stay with us on the other platforms if you're able to log on. But just let our viewers on DSTV know that we're going live now to Elele in River State for the 25th anniversary of the Madonna University.
Good information now. Blueprint newspaper is next, and what do you have on its front page? It's tracking an entirely different story, which is equally important. Yakubu to parties on Edo, Ondo, Cuba. Be warned, INEC will stick to timetable, March 24 deadline. That's the lead story of the Blueprint newspaper this morning. 6 parties upload candidates' credentials, 5 days to go. IPAC new leadership pledges to partner INEC. Lead story on the front page of Blueprint newspaper today.
And then we'll go on to Daily Independent, and they have 2 big stories there, but we'll take the second one. I mean, we've looked at the story around the Delta killings, but let's go and look at something else, this time in the Southeast. Southeast violence. Count me out. I suspect some people in government, says Nnamdi Kanu. That's another lead story on the front page of Daily Independent. Nnamdi Kanu says he will restore peace in the region 2 minutes. If released.
Okay.
Can Nigeria hold him accountable for that? Hold him to his word. It says he will restore peace in the region 2 minutes if released. That's on the front page of the Daily Independent and continues inside. So that's it from Daily Independent.
Well, this Nigeria has this one, NAS to probe murder of 16 soldiers in Delta community. Akpabio, I don't think killers are from Niger Delta. Killing, assault on security, stability of Niger Delta region, that's according to Lawan. And reprisal, we're managing the tension, says Oburewori. That story is right there on the front page of this Nigeria. Ayo.
Let me take a peek from the front page of the Nigerian Observer this morning. And it's concerning because of what that lead story itself says. Senate to investigate killing of military personnel in Delta. And it also talks about saying that the killing highlights serious threats to national security. Marco, we talked about this a few days ago, and we were underscoring the importance of the emblems of state that the Nigerian Army represents. And I'm looking forward really to how the Senate as a body will intervene in this matter. But my mind also goes to the fact that those communities have a representative in the National Assembly. Is there any information that representative of those 2 communities in the National Assembly, in the Senate, and his or her colleague in the Senate or in the House of Representatives also have to offer into this particular conversation? Because I want to believe that kind of information will be very, very important and very useful to the National Assembly as they intervene in this matter, as they probe and investigate these killings. No sentiment this time, because the Nigerian Army already put out a statement saying that some of the communities are pandering, they're putting out some kinds of narrative about what happened. And it's coming from the communities, and that is a very sensitive thing that we have to look out for. No sentiments this time. Let the law take its course, but let the proper thing be done. As Mr. Falana has said, we have rules, we have laws for these things. Let the law take its course, but at the same time, let justice not just be done, but also be seen to be done. That's my take from the front page of the Nigerian Observer this morning, guys.
Ayo, that story cuts across practically all the dailies besides the Guardian. And indeed, the Minister of Information was talking to some journalists yesterday, and he said something, an attack on the military within the country is an attack on the nation itself, because these were people that were trained by Nigeria to protect Nigeria. It's taxpayers' money. And indeed, if those people in that community pay their taxes, it is their money that was used to train these soldiers, and now they are attacked. Well, as you said, it needs to be followed through to the end. Investigations need to be thorough and possibly independent, and then made public. Let's know what happened, why did it happen, can it be prevented so that there's no recurrence, and then what is the punishment? Of course, there are laws that need to be followed through and effectively followed through. So that's my take on that story.
Well, Daily Trust has the story. Kano, Katsina, Sokoto, 4 others spend 28.3 billion on Ramadan feeding. Now, the story doesn't say to spend. It says spend. So is it that they've spent it already? Because there's a breakdown. Ramadan just started a few days ago. How is it possible that they've spent this amount of money? But as we will always say, do not run away with the headlines. Take a look at the story itself critically. The breakdown is right there for you. But I think the most important thing is what the cleric or a cleric is also asking for right there: accountability. So it's one thing to know the bulk amount of money that has been spent, but what is the breakdown? How many people are they spending this money on? Is it getting to the people who truly need it? Because I know that usually families are expected to look after themselves, but in this period, where there is hardship, where there is considerable hardship, yes, we can see that the state is finding ways to intervene. So are they also making sure that there is a monetary mechanism to ensure that how much they actually say they're spending is what they're truly spending? It certainly is of concern to the Daily Trust for them to highlight it this morning.
Let's just get back to that Guardian newspaper, that story about the loan sharks who are targeting poor citizens, exploiting and violating their privacy rights. You see the graphics there. I'll tell you the story of a young man whose image, his data was, of course, his contacts were made public. And then what they did was they now started using all these graphic applications to create images of the young man, first as in unwholesome places. I don't even want to mention the kind of pictures they created of him. He was allegedly called, he was called a rapist, called a ritual killer, and all manner of names.
All in a bid to get their money.
All in a bid to get their money. And then when he finally paid them their money, question was, did they even put out anything to say it's not true what we did? No. As expectedly, those pictures are out. As they say, the internet never forgets. But that young man's image has been messed up. What if he had no support system? His mind, he was going berserk. I happened to, was a driver, one of these cab hailing services, and he picked me up, and we're just talking generally about life, and then he tells me his story and showed me the pictures that were sent to him and sent to some of his contacts, who now forwarded them back to him. And it was just horrific, what I could see there. So something needs to be done about some of these loan sharks or lending apps, as the case may be, for as little as 10,000 naira. In fact, for as little as 1,000 naira, they could mess your life up. And so please, if you don't need to, if you don't have to, please don't go borrowing money from these loan sharks. And then if you are one of those operating these loaning apps or loaning platforms, please do with a humane.
No, sir, I don't think appeals work. What we need to do is, there needs to be some regulation. There needs to be regulation, and there needs to be awareness. That's what needs to happen for us to be able to bring this under control. As you've said, as the Guardian has highlighted, they're exploiting and targeting poor Nigerians, people who are not aware and people who are vulnerable to their antics. And sadly, there is nowhere people can go and report. So there needs to be a way. The Minister for Digital Economy, this is one of the assignments that he has to take up, because this is happening within the digital space. But I guess that would wrap our look at the papers this morning. We'll be back shortly, and then we will go to Unilag to see what the situation is with regards to the NASU and the SANU strike. Please stay with us.